What is good, guys? Quick video today, another top 5. Gonna do my top 5 DS games that are more or less exclusive to the DS. So I tried not to include like remakes, things of that nature. But to start, I'm gonna be leaning off camera a lot because I'm pulling stuff off my shelves here. To start, I want to say there's a ton of good DS games. The original Etrian Odyssey games, some of my favorites. The Ace Attorney games, again, Professor Layton, the Dragon Quest remakes, so many more. Some games that, were in consideration for my list but didn't make it. Like, I would say, like, if it was actually a top 10 list, like, this would be, like, the back 5. So I just want to talk about them real quick. The World Ends With You. Yeah, it's a great game. It's really innovative, but I think it's a little bit overrated and kind of cutesy and kind of like just something about it. Like, while I did think it was a good game and really innovative, something about it kind of rubs me the wrong way. And the more I distance myself from it and the more time goes by, the less I kind of like it. There was a time when this probably would have been in my top 5, but hindsight's 20/20, and I just think the game is really kind of inflated. Same with 999, brilliant game. I know, there's a lot of people that are huge fans of this game. I mean, I am a big fan of the game and the Zero Escape games in general. I'm really looking forward to the third one. But, again, as time goes by, I just think this kind of loses a little bit of steam. Ghost Trick, awesome fucking game. Definitely underrated. I think, in a lot of ways, I like this better than the Ace Attorney games. Definitely worth checking out if you're into those. Steel Princess, another criminally underrated DS game published by Atlas. Not an RPG. This game reminds me more of like Lolo on the NES than anything. Marvelous and Marvelous Entertainment and Atlas really put out something special with this that I think a lot of people have kind of written off over the years. There's like 150 fucking levels in this game. There's a lot of content, really cool stuff. And, of course, retro game challenge by Xseed, published by Xseed. I don't really remember who developed it. Really challenging and interesting game. Too bad the sequel never came to North America. So, those games are, like, my honorable mention. I'm a fan of these games, even if I, like, said some less than super positive things about 999 and The World Ends With You. I could admit that they're flawed games. They're not perfect games, and they're both games that I think the hype outweighs the quality in a lot of ways for both those titles, in my opinion. But now for my actual top 5 DS games. Number 5 is actually SMT Strange Journey. I love this game. I really think this should have been SMT 4. I think that the fact that it doesn't take place in Japan doesn't really deserve it to be kind of outcasted, is like kind of like the weirdo of the series. I think this could have been mainline, no questions asked, and SMT 4 could have been SMT 5, but I understand they want to keep it in Japan. I really love the feel of this game. It's got kind of like a science fiction horror type feel that a lot of the all the SMT games kind of have, kind of like a creepy vibe to them. But something about this one just pulled it off way better. I know I say this all the time, but if you're a fan of the original Alien movies, stuff like that, you probably like something about this. I know it's not like exactly the same, it's not even close to the same, but it has a similar vibe in my opinion. Really fucking hard, really frustrating. Some parts of these the entire game isn't frustrating, but there's a particular thing about this game that really fucking infuriated me. And if it wasn't for that particular element, this game might have been closer to number 1 on the list. But the fact of the matter is that frustration did kind of hinder my enjoyment of the game overall. I'm not going to say exactly what it is because it's kind of a spoiler. But if you want to talk more about that, feel free to PM me. I know a lot of people are really into the Shin Megami Tensei games, and if you want to pick my brain about this and you haven't played it yet, by all means, feel free. Number 4, again, another game I kind of thought would be closer to number 1, but as time goes by, you know, some cracks in the facade start to show through. But still a fantastic game, but I just can't see putting it over the other games, and that is Contact on the DS by Grasshopper, one of my favorite companies in the game. Awesome. You know, I think, to my understanding, this is the only RPG they've published. Really, really cool. I've talked about this game extensively in a lot of my videos, so I'm not going to go too deep into why I enjoy the game. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you should already know that I have been singing this game's praises pretty much since the beginning of my channel. And it's just something different, man. I've never really played an RPG quite like it before and since then. It's got replay value. It's a good length. Like, it's not like a super bloated RPG. I feel like it does what it needs to do, and it keeps it moving. It doesn't like overstay its welcome, which I personally really admire considering how many games there are out. The artificial padding just doesn't sit right with me, and this game doesn't even try to do that, and I commend it for it. And, you know, Grasshopper Studios are like, they're like the punk rock of video games. They do things their way. They do things a little bit differently. You know, they don't care really too much about what people think, and, you know, they just make the games that they want to make, and I can't be mad at that. So, Contact, number 4. Number 3, a game I finished recently. Fucking love this game. One of the few DS games I've actually 100%ed. That was a conscious decision as I was playing it. I just knew that I wanted to get everything out of this game that I could. The other 2 games in the series that are on the console or on the handheld, I think are good as well, but this one just shines the brightest in my opinion, and that is Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow. In my opinion, this is the best Castlevania game on the DS. Portrait of Ruin was just a little bit too easy. Order of Ecclesia was like a little bit too hard. Like, this is like, you know, the porridge is just fucking right with this one. And, you know, at first I was like, I'm not going to like this game because of drawing the symbols on the touch screen. But that's the only thing that I could say is negative about this game. Everything else is brilliant. Story, atmosphere. You know, obviously the controls are tight. It's a Castlevania game. Fantastic adventure platformer, man. Can't recommend it enough. If you're looking to get into the Castlevania DS games, I don't know if I'd start with this one because honestly, I played this one last and it felt like right to play this one last because it did feel like the best. I'd probably start with Portrait of Ruin, and then either play this or Order of Ecclesia, but awesome, awesome game. I mean, I know it's probably too much to ask, but I would love to see more Castlevania games like this in the future. Let's see. Number 2. Oh, man. This game is... It's an amazing game. It's an old school style game that still uses the amenities of a modern game and just kind of brings those two worlds together perfectly. And this game got me into going back and checking out some of those first-person dungeon crawlers, and I really couldn't get into a lot of them, especially the old ones. Despite this game having such an old-school vibe, it's still really, really playable. So like I said, it's a love letter to some of those games like the early Wizardry games and shit that I just can't really vibe with. I don't have the patience for. But this game is phenomenal. It is the Darkspire. Insanely like creative game using just the bare minimum, the bare bones for what you can do with an RPG, but still it just comes out being extremely creative in my opinion. It has an amazing art style. I mean, this game looks fantastic, and the music in this game is fantastic. The gameplay, challenging and cryptic as it is rewarding, and it's very, very addicting. This game is fucking punishing, but a lot like Dark Souls, while it is punishing, it is still very addicting, and it keeps you coming back. easily one of the best experiences I've had on the DS. Obviously, it's at number 2. I think that's pretty redundant. I don't know why the fuck I said that. But a great game. I mean, I got nothing bad to say about this. Definitely worth checking out, but not for the faint of heart by any means. Very, very punishing game. This game is no joke. Like, I've gone on record in saying that I feel like the Dark Souls games aren't that hard. It's just a lot of micromanagement. Like, how well can you micromanage certain aspects of the game for your success, and that the difficulty is kind of inflated and hype. You know what I mean? It's the community that says the games are difficult. I feel like it's not really the people that are playing the games. Like, I don't know a lot of people that are huge fans of Dark Souls that'll say, oh, it's such a fucking hard game, unless they're trying to toot their own fucking horn. This game is punishing, and it's fucking hard. Like, this is not an easy game, but it's a great game. One that, like, I will say I am proud to own and to have finished this game. Like, this is a gem in my collection, no doubt about it. Awesome game, highly recommended. Even if you're not into first-person dungeon crawlers, because like I'm like first-person dungeon crawler light. Like, I like the art or the Etrian Odyssey games, which are like, you know, baby's first-person dungeon crawler. And the main thing I like about those is the map drawing. You know, like, I find that to be very addictive. While Darkspire doesn't have that, and it's a much more difficult first-person dungeon crawler, it's still, there's something about the culmination of all the things that it does well. It does insanely well. So, gotta keep it moving. Number 1 best game on the Nintendo DS is Zelda Spirit Tracks. I'm joking. The best game on the Nintendo DS is Solitarobo. I talked about this in my last video. Great game. It's a game that at first I didn't even think that I really liked it, but as I kept playing it, I realized how good it was. This game and Contact are the only games on this list that I've played more than once. I started Darkspire a second time. Got pretty far because there's different like play modes in it, and ultimately set it down to pick up something else, because sometimes if I'm replaying a game and there's something else I want to play, I will abandon it, which is kind of shitty and I feel bad about it, but I will go back and finish my second playthrough of Darkspire. But Contact, second playthrough, no problem. Solitarobo just recently, like I said in my last video, did a second playthrough and 100%ed it. I think this and Dawn of Sorrow are the only DS games that I've done absolutely everything in the game that you can do. Like, I unlocked every little thing, got every upgrade, every upgrade equipment. I mean, all the artwork, all the plates, all the songs, everything you can unlock in this game, I did it, and have no qualms about it. Enjoyed every minute of it. Fantastic game. Definitely, in my opinion, the best game on the DS. Not just from like a personal enjoyment level, but I think if you really weighed out things like gameplay, story, accessibility, art direction, overall polish, I just think that not much can compete with Solitarobo on the DS. I can't even think of another game that could compete with it. I'm sure there's some first-party Nintendo games that, like, I never even played, that I don't know anything about. Like, I'm sure there's some Mario shit out there that's very good as well. But, you know, this would definitely be a contender, I think, because I obviously haven't played everything. But out of what I've played, awesome game. If you are going to get this game, man, I really would recommend trying to get a version with the soundtrack. I know, you know, it comes in this big box or whatever, because the soundtrack's actually in a jewel case. It's a decent soundtrack. It's got a lot of tracks. I do like the music in this game. At first, I wasn't really vibing with it, but like the more I played it, the more certain tracks really stood out to me. And there is a cool component to this game where you can find like phonograph machines and collect music, like I think they call them like samples or something, and unlock them, and you can listen to them in game as well. So there's a music component about this game from like a collectibles level in game that I think the CD soundtrack kind of complements that, and it's a nice package overall if you are into music to begin with. If not, you know, whatever, you probably just get away with getting yourself a cart and be totally happy. But you know, if you're a fucking lunatic like me, you'll probably want the whole box, and I couldn't blame you. Same with Darkspire. Again, this version, the first print run comes with a CD, and again, a fantastic soundtrack. I definitely listened to this soundtrack more than this one. I feel like this one is better, but overall, this is just the better game. I'm not, you know, obviously not judging them on the soundtrack. Would be a whole new fucking ball game. But that's my top 5 DS games. Guys, I'd love to know yours. Video responses if you got time. Comments are cool too. Whatever. That's it. You know, this list, man, it's been a long time in the making. And one of the reasons I did replay Solo Turobo was because I didn't know where to place it on the list. I was like, I don't know how good the game is. I'm going to just replay the game, and yeah, it's legit. Crack out.